arson cases have you worked, Steve?
You know what? Arsons are an interesting crime. They're hard to work. The fire department destroys half of the evidence, and then to try to go back into these places and walk around.
Thank God her wounds are... I are here in South Carolina to investigate the shocking murder of Deborah Chisholm. Late one night back in 2007, Deborah was attacked in her home, bludgeoned and stabbed to death 7 times. Before her killer poured gasoline on her body and burned her home practically to the ground. We know Deborah was 44 when this happened. She took in her niece and nephew to live with her. She had a lot of friends. Normal social life, right? Did you consider her a high-risk victim?
Absolutely not.
13 years before the murder happened, Deborah's sister passed away. So as a result of that, Deborah took in to raise, along with her own daughter, Tanisha, her nephew, Dwayne, and her niece, Sakina. At the time of the murder, they were both grown and had just recently moved out. But when the smoke cleared, the investigators started hearing rumors that Deborah's death may have been the result of an old family grudge. Deborah's friends, girlfriends, and co-workers, she shared a lot about her relationship with her niece and nephew and daughter. Did they love each other? Did they hate each other? What was the issue? What was the problem, right?
I've got decades of experience with arson cases, and they're always a challenge. If we're going to solve Deborah's, we can't focus on the evidence that was lost. We have to focus on the evidence that we still have. The neighbors, the cell phone records, the witnesses, and the actual suspects themselves. I think it's a great case, but there's still a lot of questions here about this arson.
It has been 16 years and still no answer.
Police consider her killing a cold case.
Years later, the case is still unsolved.
I've chosen cold cases from across the country and teamed up with the best detectives to solve them. We're more determined than ever to bring justice to these victims.
Good morning.
Hi.
I'm Intern Chief George Miller.
Nice to meet you,
Nice
sir.
to meet you. Robert Thacker,
Oh,
Sergeant.
I'm Kelly.
Steve Smigol, nice to meet you.
Sean
How are you?
Smith.
I like that bow tie.
I do too.
That's a South Carolina thing, huh?
It is.
When did y'all first get acquainted with this case?
I started working the case back in 2012.
That was one of the first things I did when I took over as interim chief, was to try and get this case solved. We feel it is solvable.
Do y'all not hire little guys here or something? Is that a rule?
It's the South.
I like it. Let's go. Come on.
Deborah was a very outgoing person, always willing to help somebody. No one deserved to lose their life the way she did. It's something that you get motivated to close this case, to bring some closure to the family, at least give us some kind of comfort.
Let's put Deborah's pictures up on the board. She was only 44 when it happened, right?
ma'am.
Pretty dang young. What was her story?
Deborah was a single mother. Her sister passed away early on, and she ended up taking care of the niece and nephew. She put her daughter through college, Tanisha,
And Tanisha now lives where?
in North Carolina. She's actually a doctor. Deborah worked for the city of Greenville, and she had a lot of friends.
Yeah, she seemed pretty social, right?
Yes, ma'am.
When the sister passed away, Deborah just took on the role of being their parent. From what I've gathered from family and friends and everybody, she took care of them just like they were her own kids. My mom actually was divorced and a single mother, black female, just like Deborah was. That's what motivates me to find this person and put him in jail.
Start with the front of the story.
December 12, 2007, the fire department responded to a fire. After the fire was extinguished, that's when the fire department stumbled on a body that was charred. The next day, an autopsy was performed, and it cause and manner of death was ruled a homicide. The 7 stab wounds and blunt force trauma to a skull.
Did anybody know that was coming?
No.
Didn't know there would be a body and didn't know it wasn't going to be just from the
No, ma'am.
fire. Damn.
Yeah.
Forensic testing determined that the killer used gasoline to set Deborah's house on fire after the murder, in a likely attempt to cover up the crime. But luckily, the fire department was able to extinguish the fire quickly. The killer wasn't as slick as they thought they were.
Okay, so let's start with our suspect board. Y'all want to do Dwayne first?
Yes.
Dwayne Taylor. So he's going to be Deborah's nephew. And when this happened, we say he was 22.
22.
What do we know about the relationship between Dwayne and Deborah?
We know they were having some issues.
Over what?
Money. What Deborah was receiving for Dwayne and Sakina as they were growing up, SSI checks.
And we don't know how much money, do we?
We don't know how much money.
Dwayne was Deborah's nephew who had an understandably troubled childhood. But investigators discovered that the real trouble started when Dwayne got a little bit older and he became convinced that Deborah was withholding the Social Security benefits that he and Sakina were receiving because of his mom's death. There's no evidence that she was, but if Dwayne believed that, that could be her motive.
Now, prior to that, she had some issues with Dwayne, getting arrested and stuff like that. She had to actually kick him out the house.
When did she kick him out?
It was 2 months prior to her death.
What was his initial story as to where he was around the time you think the fire started?
He wrote a statement that said prior to going to work that day, he was at his cousin's house. He spoke to the cousins because Dwayne wasn't here. And then later on, we found out that he was late for his job. He worked from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. On that particular day, he did not arrive for work at 12:45.
Okay. We don't know what time Deborah was killed or what time the fire started, but based on the size of the blaze when the fire department arrived, it's believed that the fire was started around 10:30 or 11 p.m. If so, then Dwayne's alibi and actions that night certainly seem suspicious.
Just talk to him. When you do, go.
Sakina Taylor. She's going to be our victim's niece. What else do we know about the relationship between Sakina and Deborah?
They were strained, apparently.
They had her falling out because she moved out.
She moved out in February?
Mm-hmm.
Sakina gets into it with Deborah, and I think your police department responds one time, too, over money. And that was, earlier that year, I thought.
And they're fighting outside with the neighbors' call.
She feels like she misappropriated her funds.
Like her brother Dwayne, witnesses said that Sakina believed that Deborah was keeping money from her. Statistically, about 90% of murders are committed by men, and Deborah's murder was particularly violent. But I've worked enough murder cases to realize that you can't rule anything out. Could she have killed her own aunt? Could she have helped? Could she have helped to cover it up? The other suspect that I think we need to address is the main man she was messing around with at the time,
Right.
Dwayne Ishak. His relationship to Deborah is dating. Do we know for how long?
Everybody said 2 years, and I think that was to not let his actual wife know how long he's been dealing with her.
Dwayne Ishak had been dating Deborah behind his wife's back for a couple of years. And even though Deborah's body was badly burned, the first responders were able to determine that Deborah was nude at the time of her death, which sounds a lot like she and her killer may have been in an intimate relationship. Did they have any abuse issues, volatile, jealousy,
No.
temper?
It was like friends with benefits. He knew her relationships, and she knew he was married.
And is Dwayne still with his wife today?
Yes. She was at home, had some teeth extracted that day. He was out getting her medication. He's on video
at the
this gas station, yeah.
Dwayne Ishak seems like a likely suspect, but he has a pretty solid alibi. He and his wife say that he was at home all night, other than when he stopped at a gas station briefly where he was caught on camera. But based on Deborah's phone records, we know that he talked to her a little less than 2 hours before her murder. Is it possible that he could have pulled it off? And if so, why? All right, boys, that's a pretty good board. How long had Tanisha been married when this happened?
I think she got married the same year, a few months before.
The first thing we want to do is meet with Deborah's daughter, Tanisha. It feels like it's pretty much split up the family, too.
Yeah, it has, yeah.
For 3 kids who grew up together, they have nothing to do with each other now. I can't imagine growing up with my cousins and watching my mom raise them and then considering the possibility that they could be involved and implicated in my mother's murder.
So I know it's been a long time.
Yeah.
But hopefully this time we can bring some closure to you.
What was your sister like growing up?
She loved to sing around the house. She loved to dance. She loved to have fun.
Oh, she was the life of the party.
Yeah,
Always, huh?
Always.
A lot of her raising me was to always just encouraging whatever.
Anybody she would talk to about me, like, that's my daughter, she's gonna be a doctor. Like, she had probably the utmost, more faith and confidence in me than I had in myself. It's like, oh, you can do it, you'll be fine. But if I had wanted to be a garbage person, she would have been just as excited. My mom was my best friend. We hung out, we talked every day. I talked to her the morning that she died. She was my biggest cheerleader. She was loving, caring, happy, sweet. My life hasn't been the same.
Let's go back a little bit. So at some point, your cousins, Dwayne and Sakina, their mom passed away.
Right.
When they first moved in with you, was everybody happy about that?
I think there were moments of tension because I still had my mom. Me and Sakina were like this when we were young, because we were the same age. Our moms were, like, all of our moms had us all together. After that, we just became distant.
At that time, Dwayne...
he had troubles. Like, he was already aggressive and angry. Like, he had several runs of charges. So by the time I graduated, he was intermittently in and out of the house. Like, he would do something and she would kick him out.
And during the time y'all were growing up, they each get a check for the SSI because their mom passes away.
Right.
And how much are you aware of any kind of stress or tension that caused in the minds of Sakina and Dwayne?
I think if I remember there being moments like, this is my money.
Sure. And who would be the one that said, this is my money? Dwayne or Sakina or both?
I feel like it was both of them.
Yeah. When this happened, right, I asked Kina at that point, I was like, you think your brother had something to do with it? She got very defensive.
Okay.
Thinking about how it happened, why it wasn't random. The intention was to do harm.
Yeah.
So most of us think Dwayne did it.
You can really feel the pain and the suffering that to this day still torments Tanisha and Gloria. We're going to try our hardest. We feel optimistic, but we can't promise you anything. Over what happened to Deborah after all these years.
Hopefully everybody's still at the Wade's house. That's the house right across the street. Hopefully they can give us some information.
Deborah Chisholm was brutally murdered 14 years ago and her house set on fire. And while the house no longer stands, we're fortunate to have the neighbors still living across the street.
Miss Francine Way?
Yes. We're hoping they can still remember if they saw anything out of the ordinary that night.
We're looking into the Deborah Chisholm case. You remember that night?
Yeah. It happened around 12 o'clock that night. And a white lady came through the neighborhood. She was knocking on people's doors to let us know there was a fire over there. That evening, before that happened, let me back it up.
Yes, ma'am.
Me and my husband were sitting on the porch right here.
Okay.
And I noticed the black truck, come down the street. It was parked in front of the house.
Okay. Mr. Wade available to talk to us for a minute?
Well, let me get him quick.
Mrs. Wade places a suspicious black truck at Deborah's house on the night of the murder. That's not Deborah's vehicle, and as far as we know, it doesn't match the suspect's vehicle either. Maybe her husband can help us identify the driver of the truck.
The only thing I really remember is, I thought it was strange. It was a black truck parked right by the drainage thing there.
Yes, sir.
It sounded like a sprinkler system.
Sound like a sprinkler system?
Yes.
Okay. Right.
And, look around and find out where it was coming from. It was a truck sitting there. That was
yes. Okay.
Mr. Wade didn't see the driver of the black truck. However, the engine made a strange sprinkler-type noise, and that is a solid lead.
Find that truck. Gates be closed.
Okay. Yeah, right. Yes, sir. Good morning.
Hi, guys. Y'all brought some visitors, huh?
This is Captain Brown from the fire department.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Kent Deal with the coroner's office.
What's the setup out here?
We got a model up for the residents since it's all destroyed. So we're going to go in and see if we can reenact that night of December the 12th, 2007.
Y'all remember it pretty well?
We remember it.
All right, well, come tell us everything you remember. Let's talk it over. With Deborah's house completely destroyed, the Malden Police Department has built us up a model today to help us better visualize and try to examine the actions of Deborah's killer.
So this is probably the back of the residence.
And where's the bedroom?
The bedroom's gonna be on this side.
Deborah's home had two doors. The front door was locked, the back door was broken, and it was secured with a bookcase to keep people from coming in. So the first thing we have to figure out in this case is, how did our killer get inside Deborah's house?
So I'm parked here, and as I exit, I'm walking around the back side of the house. So I come first to the screen-in porch door, which I enter from there. And as I get in, maybe or maybe not, I check this back door.
So this is our barricaded back door.
Right. If this is the door, this bookshelf went across the door.
Your first officer on the scene. If he had to push open the door, then that tells y'all what as to how our suspect got inside the house.
The window. That's the only way he could have gotten in, because he didn't go through the front door.
And there's no other door.
There's no other door.
And the garage door was down.
Right.
So it's got to be this window.
Got to be that window.
Deborah's body was nude when she was discovered, and we figure that was because of one of two reasons. She was either with her boyfriend shortly before this, or she was in the shower and was ambushed when she got out, which may help explain why she didn't hear the killer getting into the house that night.
All right, so go back, enter the house. I'm going to be Deborah getting out of the shower. So if you're in the kitchen, now you've gotten into the house through the window.
I might even hear the shower running. I don't know. But I'm walking this way towards the bedroom. And here's the bedroom door.
She's going to come out, and we think the shower, because she's got no clothes on, and her family says she did not sleep nude. She's walking maybe to get her clothes, to get dressed, because she's found where, Chief? Her body.
She's found basically in this area.
The head is nearer the door. She is on her back, and then she has these stab wounds.
How many were there?
Seven.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if I'm coming out of my shower, and I'm trying to get my clothes on or whatever, and you come through the door, what you gonna do?
One of the ways that I might be able to control you best is to get around you, and then that would give you an opportunity.
Then 4.
And then you've got one on this side up high, and then you've got one down here.
If I'm struggling, you might not be able to aim as well. And then that way you would fall this way with your head closer to the door.
Sure.
Okay. So he gets back in here with the gas. How much does it take to set that fire? A lot? 5 gallons?
Several. It just didn't happen just in that bedroom.
So they splashed gas more than just on her in the bedroom.
I would say
didn't know
so.
that.
So with Deborah's killer actually sneaking into the house and then using gasoline to cover up the crime, it's clear this just wasn't some type of a heated argument. This was a cold and calculated, premeditated murder.
And gas can goes with him. He doesn't leave it behind.
No.
No knife is left behind. All that goes with the killer. And we also know that he's in a hurry to leave.
He's definitely in a hurry.
So he's not dawdling. Damaged tree is where?
Kind of like right here. Had damage consistent with something hitting it, backing out, leaving in a hurry.
Killers typically flee crime scenes quickly, especially if they just set it on fire. As it turns out, outside Deborah's home, investigators found scrape marks on the side of a tree, suggesting that the killer scraped their vehicle during the escape.
Wow, that was so helpful. Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
It sounds more and more like the key piece of evidence in this case is a black truck with damage to its side that has an engine that sounds like a sprinkler system. And the question is, who was driving that truck the night Deborah was killed?
Okay, Yolanda Golden. But she's a friend. She ought to be excited.
Yeah.
We've still got 3 suspects in the murder of Deborah Chisholm, her niece and nephew who she helped raise, and her boyfriend. None of them owned the black truck that we believe her killer might have been driving that night. So it's time for us to start talking to witnesses to try and narrow down any potential motives.
What kind of person was Deborah?
Outgoing, fun, funny.
Is there anybody that she had any problems with in her life? Like,
The only person that it keeps resonating with me is her nephew, Dwayne. He was living there with her. He was not respecting any rules of her household, coming in at, different times of night, had people in her house. He was using drugs. Then she had to kick him out. But she had told me that he had broken into the house a few times. Yeah, and she said when she got into the house, she could see him running across the field.
At the back of the house, right?
Back of the house.
According to her friend Yolanda, Deborah had recurring issues with her nephew Dwayne and had recently kicked him out. More importantly, she caught him breaking back in a couple of times. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You.
I appreciate y'all for that.
It makes you wonder if Dwayne was the one who broke Deborah's back door that forced her to have to barricade that back door with the bookcase, or if maybe he was entering through the window like we think her killer did. Nice.
This is Mr. Sullivan, right?
Yes, Daryl Sullivan, ex-boyfriend. Deborah dated a man named Daryl Sullivan in the early 2000s, and they remained friends up until the time of her murder.
Mr. Sullivan, how you doing, sir? Do you mind if we step outside? You want to talk out here?
He may be able to tell us more about her relationship with Dwayne and Sakina. You know why we're here, huh?
With Deborah?
Yes.
Yeah.
She didn't deserve that.
Yeah.
And we're hoping that she did some confiding in her friends and girlfriends about her personal life and her situation at home.
Yeah.
Did she ever talk about any of that with you?
Concerning her niece and nephew.
Yes.
Okay. What was she?
Substance was involved. I don't know if it was alcohol or
drugs.
And she did actually put him out a couple times.
She put him out a few times. Over arguments?
Was Sakina a problem for her like Dwayne was?
No,
Okay.
Not to my knowledge, I hear anything about her.
If we're trying to figure out whether or not Sakina could be involved in this murder, is there anything you know of or think about that tells you one way or the other?
I'm going to tell you Sakina's reaction and the way Dwayne handled her at the funeral. They said that she jumped up and just kind of lost it.
So she was upset.
Right. Dwayne, they said he whispered something in her ear.
Okay.
But she kind of calmed down.
Daryl seems pretty confident that Deborah had bigger problems with Dwayne than she did with Sakina, and that Sakina may know more than she's ever told the police before. Did she ever tell you about needing to barricade her back door?
You could get in it.
You can get in
How
it?
come?
The window was broken. And I think Dwayne had did that because he couldn't get in one day.
Did she ever mention if she was afraid of Dwayne?
She had had a incident with Wayne shortly before that. And she had told me that he was acting like he wanted to hit her.
And when you say shortly before that, you mean
Shortly
weeks,
before
a couple of days?
Like within that week.
Okay.
She said that he was supposed to get some stuff from the house.
You think she probably told this to you when? Within that week?
Yeah.
Now, was that the last time you talked to her prior to her death?
Wow. Not only was Dwayne the reason why Deborah was barricading her back door, he threatened her days before the murder, and he had plans to come by her house. You told us some wonderful new stuff today. Thank you so much. Daryl Sullivan was a great witness. Every single thing that came out of his mouth was a beautiful piece of circumstantial evidence.
Oh, amazing.
Woo-hoo!
Wonderful.
I thought he was going to be a waste of time.
No.
I didn't think he was going to know all that.
So we're going to Mr. Boyd next?
Let's go to Mr. Boyd next.
Man, nobody's ever talked to him.
She might have vented to him a little bit. We're headed to speak to another of Deborah's exes, a man named Patrick Boyd. And we heard you knew her from the church.
Yeah. We went together, I guess, about 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
I know the kids very well.
Okay.
She ever talk to you about any problems she had with niece and nephew?
I know Dwayne would give her a little, he's growing up.
Okay. Did she ever tell you about any times when she felt like she was afraid that he was going to do something to her?
She never said it, but I kind of felt it because he was starting to get into the drug scene.
Okay.
If Dwayne was involved, what would be his reason for wanting to hurt Deborah?
Money. It was always about money with her. But they was always taking care of her. The kids came first before she did.
Did she ever say that she had any kind of issues like that with her niece, Sakina?
Not to me.
Again, we are hearing about Dwayne's anger over the money that he thought Deborah owed him. Between this boyfriend's account about the money and the last boyfriend, it feels like Dwayne's potential motive over all this money had been building for years.
I try to make things happen every once in a while.
I like him too.
Yeah.
So we're on our way to see Dwayne Ishak, ex-boyfriend of Deborah. He actually called her the night that she was murdered, talked to her for a little bit, and he's got a pretty solid alibi, it looks like. Deborah Chisholm and Dwayne Ishak were actually dating at the time of her murder and had talked on the phone the night she was killed. Dwayne has always had a strong alibi, corroborated by his wife and security cameras. However, we still need to talk to him and determine his movements throughout the day and night that Deborah was killed.
Uh-oh.
With a vehicle parked in the driveway and noises coming from within the house, we think that our suspect, Dwayne, might be in the house. However, no one appears interested in talking to us at this time.
I heard the dogs in there at one time, and then I knocked again, and I thought I heard somebody moving.
We'll just have to try again later.
Sergeant, so we brought Eric Devlin with us, and he used to be a prosecutor, and now he's our forensics expert, and he loves doing all this kind of stuff. You're going to like him because he's a geek. Okay, let me get him and find out what he can tell us. We know that one of Deborah's last phone calls was with her boyfriend, Dwayne Ishak, and we know that she was killed sometime between 10:30 and 11.
Morning or afternoon. How are y'all?
All right, sir.
Hopefully our digital forensics expert can give us some insight into what the other suspects were doing based on their cell phone records and maybe even tell us where they were at that time.
First number I looked at belonged to Sakina Taylor, so I don't have location data. It's a toll record. These are the records during that particular time period. The 2,200 hours up to 1,100 hours. I believe your murder time somewhere right around here.
So the last activity on Sakina's phone on the day of our murder is at 5:35 p.m. Eastern time?
Correct.
She didn't call anybody else that whole night?
There's no calls until 9:49 the next morning.
Dwayne's not calling her and she's not calling him?
I went looking for cell phone calls between them. The only one I could find was around December 1st.
Wow.
They're not calling each other's cell phones.
On a regular basis.
Okay. Sakina did not use her cell phone around the time of the murder, and she had not even spoken to her brother in over a week. It doesn't mean that she didn't play a role in Deborah's murder, but her cell phone records themselves are not at all incriminating. Okay, what you got next?
Moving on to Dwayne Taylor. These are some actual call detail records, so I can give you some location data on these. So you gave me one particular important location, which my understanding is where the homicide occurred.
Yes.
Give me the times that he's on his phone closest to our murder window, which is around 10:30, 11 o'clock at night.
8:24 p.m., he is hitting off this particular tower, which could put him anywhere in this particular area.
That catches the murder house?
Does not catch the murder house.
Okay.
At 11:16 p.m., he is hitting off the same cell tower he's hitting off of at 8:24. But during this entire break between 8:24 and 11:16, there is no communication. There is no tracking where he is. He could be anywhere. He could be committing murder. He could be sitting at home and doing nothing.
Okay. Dwayne's cell phone records are a bit more telling than Sakina's, but not much. Like his sister, there's a black hole of non-usage during the murder window, with no calls or activity to show us where he was. So from 8:30 at night until 11:15 at night, about 3 hours, we got a window there, right?
Correct.
And the rest of the day, he's on his phone all day long. There's
Correct.
not another 3-hour gap.
No.
So what's he doing for 3 solid hours when the whole rest of the day he hasn't left that phone alone for 3 hours?
Yeah. Right, exactly.
Then again, maybe Dwayne's cell phone inactivity is evidence. He made around 20 calls that day, and around the time of the murder is his only 3-hour gap of inactivity. All right, man, thank you.
You bet.
So hopefully Sakina talk to us.
Yeah. It's time now that we talk to our suspect, Sakina Taylor. Although her problems don't seem to be as severe with Deborah or as volatile as her brother Dwayne's, we know that they fought about money and that she was allegedly acting very strange at Deborah's funeral. If she isn't involved, this is a good chance for her to set the record straight.
Hi, is Sakina Taylor here?
Yes.
Can I speak with her, please?
Sure.
You Sakina? Hey, Sakina, I'm Robert Thack. I'm with the City Mall Police Department. You got a minute to talk to us for a minute?
I'm working, you guys.
You working? Oh, will you have time to talk to us today sometime?
What's going on?
We're investigating your aunt's case.
It's like a sore thumb in my family. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's tough.
It is.
I understand.
Well, you know. But yeah, I mean, if you guys got a business card or something, I can call y'all.
You haven't got a few minutes now, have you? No.
I work all day, really. I work from 10 to 7.
I mean, I can meet you after 7. That's no problem.
We'll see.
Okay? Okay?
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Sakina is a tough read. She came to the door and appeared to be polite. However, she definitely gave us the brush off. We don't have an arrest warrant, so she doesn't have to talk to us. But you have to ask yourself, why, if this was your aunt, who you loved and raised you, wouldn't you help law enforcement find the person who did this? I think she may know, and she may be afraid of the truth itself. Very guarded. Got those women's instincts up that she knows we ain't there for a quick cup of coffee or something.
She didn't seem negative.
No.
Like, I think she might call.
Yeah,
for some reason, I think she might call. Well, hopefully Sakina will open the door for us.
We'll see. She's not exactly picture cooperation.
Yeah.
We hoped our suspect, Sakina Taylor, would get back to us after our visit yesterday, but she hasn't. So we're going to drop by again today and see if we can get her to talk to us this time.
All right, let's go talk to Miss Sakina.
She told us she works from 10 to 7, so we're here bright and early today.
Miss Taylor, police department. Miss Taylor, police department. Yeah, movement this time we did yesterday. Miss Taylor, police department. She ain't answering the door for us today. God, dog it.
Try.
Got a number for her we can call her. Is Miss Taylor? Hey, I was looking for you to call me yesterday, and I came back out in the morning to talk to you.
Right, listen, for real, I'm not mistaken, and I know this is your job, but this is my life. I don't care to revisit this. I don't.
You don't want to. You don't want to find. You don't want to find out who killed your aunt.
I don't.
You don't want to. You don't want to find out who killed your aunt.
Stop coming to my door. That is embarrassing. Got banging on my door. Stop it.
Well, we're trying to find out who killed your aunt. You don't have any information for us?
I don't have anything for you. Y'all got the file. That was in 2007. It was 2021.
But, you know, and the person that did is still out there. You're not concerned about...
Stop talking. I'm telling you now.
You're
Don't
not...
come to my door anymore. Stop calling.
You're not concerned? You're not concerned about her? You're not concerned about it?
You know, this thing is just so frustrating. This is why these cases go cold. You know, nobody cares. Nobody wants to talk to the police.
Hello? Miss Neely? Are you at home right now, sir? Okay, I'll be out here waiting on you. I wanted to talk to you about Dwayne Taylor, remember? All right, thank you, sir.
After talking to Deborah's neighbors and of our suspects own that type of vehicle. But the Malden PD recognized that earlier in the day of Deborah's murder, Dwayne had brought his car to a mechanic for repairs. We're wondering if there's a connection between Dwayne's car trouble and the mystery truck in this case.
How you doing, sir? All right, this is Steve.
Oh, how you doing, sir? Nice to meet you. We've tracked down Sam Neely, the owner of the garage that serviced Dwayne's car.
Can you tell us about Dwayne Taylor?
My nephew.
Right, yes.
You know, one day he had left his car down there for us to work on.
Right.
So he said he had to go to work and he didn't have a way. I had, you know, a couple of vehicles that I could drive.
Right.
So I told him, I said, well, you can go ahead and take my truck. You know, you keep it until we get your car fixed. That was on, I'm saying it was on a Wednesday. He bought it back that next day. My partner, he said, man, who hit your truck? I said, what do you mean? Ain't nobody hit my truck. So I went around there and looked, and it was then on the side.
So the damage wasn't on the truck when you gave it to Dwayne?
And my gas can that was on the back of the truck. He didn't bring the top back because it had a top where you could, you know, put it in the gas tank.
Right.
Been missing ever since I got the truck back.
Not only did Dwayne borrow Sam's pickup truck on the day Deborah was killed, when he returned, it had damage on its side, and a gas can in the bed of the truck was missing the lid. And we know that the killer used gasoline to set Deborah on fire and her home after the murder.
What did it sound like? They say it used to tick like a sprinkler system.
Sound like a sprinkler system.
Sound like a sprinkler system.
Yes.
Okay.
Got down there cutting the tree for me. He said, I heard you when you come down the hill. From way around here.
with Sam Neely confirming that his vehicle was actually the one making that odd sound, I'd say we've got a truckload of circumstantial evidence against Dwayne at this point.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Yeah,
God bless you.
All right. Thank you.
So what's the plan with Dwayne right now?
We're gonna call the jail and have him transported and see if he wants to talk to us.
Now that we can place Dwayne at the scene of his aunt's house on the night of the murder, it's time to confront him with the evidence. Lucky for us, he's going to be easy to find because he's currently in custody here in the county jail on an unrelated domestic violence charge. And as long as he sits in there and doesn't lawyer up, you'll just keep going at it.
Yeah, we're gonna chat. All right, so you ready?
Yeah.
Hello?
Hey, he refused. Said he doesn't want some gun.
So he refused to come out at all?
Yep. He said, I'm not going with y'all.
We were so eager to confront Dwayne Taylor about his aunt's murder.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Thanks.
But when the investigators went to try and approach him, he refused to talk. So they didn't even tell him what it was for, but he knew it was Malden Police Department.
He knew exactly what it's for. He knew exactly what it's for.
We also got a hold of Dwayne Ishak, but he didn't want to talk either. Fortunately, we still feel like we've uncovered a lot over the course of this investigation. Let's look up here at our board. We have Dwayne Ishak. You went to that gas station and got video footage of him at the time he told you.
Yes.
Nobody's putting him at the house. He's got no issue with her.
No.
With all that being said and done, what's your feeling about Dwayne Ishak today?
Take him off.
Take him off.
I'd definitely say take him off.
Boyfriends and husbands are usually always the first suspects in a murder case, and it would have been nice if we could have talked to Dwayne Ishak yet again. The truth is, he has had a solid alibi. We never uncovered any possible motive, and from talking to Deborah's exes, it's pretty clear that she was always able to continue positive relationships with her boyfriends even after she broke up with them. Okay, let's talk about Sakina. Sakina and Dwayne did not talk by telephone the night of the murder.
Right.
She didn't call anybody else that whole night.
There's no calls until 9:49 the next morning.
Was Sakina a problem for her like Dwayne was? How do y'all feel about Sakina being on the suspect board? Sean, what do you think?
I think she's just distraught because she has her brother that she has to protect.
Right.
Take off.
So Sakina comes off.
Yes, ma'am.
It feels like Sakina either knows or she suspects that her brother is involved in her aunt's murder. And though clearly she had issues with Deborah, like with Dwayne Ishak, there's no evidence to suggest that she was involved or tried to cover it up at all. Okay, what all do we have against Dwayne Taylor that you want to talk to your prosecutor about? Lay the foundation with motive. We're talking about a lady that raised him, and all he could think about was, where's my SSI money?
It was always about money.
And then get into, she was always having to kick him out. You know, she would kick him out and she'd let him back.
He was living there with her, and she had to kick him out. Was not respecting any rules of her household.
And then we have Mr. Sullivan. What does he say, Sean?
They got into an argument over money, and she kicked him out. He knew he was supposed to be coming over there to pick up clothing.
For good.
For good,
Yeah.
you know, and leave.
She said he was supposed to get some stuff from the house.
She probably told this to you when? Within that week?
Yeah.
And who in the whole wide world is going to come all the way back to Deborah's bedroom and catch her when she's getting out of the shower with a knife already in his hand?
Somebody that used to live there and knows the layout of the house.
We heard that Dwayne had a history of breaking into Deborah's home, which is why she barricaded her back door in the first place. Then you get to the night of the fire.
Witnesses, the Ways, first ones that heard that pickup truck.
It sounded like a sprinkler system.
Sound like a sprinkler system?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. We know the owner of the truck was Mr. Neely, confirmed that Dwayne did borrow his truck. When Mr. Neely got the truck back, he noticed there was damage to the truck.
My partner, he said, man, who hit your truck? So I went around there and looked, and it was this dent on the side.
And what are the odds that the same black truck borrowed by Dwayne Taylor has damage on it equal to the tree sitting right beside the house? What are the odds?
Yeah.
His own statement to law enforcement originally.
He said he had to be at work at 11 o'clock and didn't show up until 12:45.
Yeah, right. I've always thought that the best murder cases are a combination of circumstantial and physical, and you've got it here. This is great. You just lead from one to the other.
It's a good case.
It is. This is now or never. It's been 14 years.
We're excited to present this case against Dwayne Taylor to the 13th Judicial District Solicitor's Office in the hopes that they'll move ahead in charging him with the murder of his aunt, Deborah Chisholm. You can sell it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
Remember the kindness. Remember the light.
Been waiting a while to tell him, right?
Almost 14 years.
You should be proud.
After speaking with the DA, the first thing that came to my mind was that Tanisha, Gloria, and the rest of the family would finally get closure. Something they've been waiting for a long time.
Hello, ladies. Hi.
Hi. I'm hoping it gives them some kind of sense of mind to move forward. Y'all doing okay today?
Hanging in there. How about yourself?
Doing fine. Wonderful. Wonderful.
That's
we got good
good.
news.
Good.
Real good news. We talked with the prosecutor.
Okay.
And we got the green light to go forward. And we're signing warrants on Dwayne.
To arrest and charge Dwayne with murder and arson, right?
Yes.
So overwhelmingly, the evidence suggests that he did it.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, it's even more unconscionable for it to be my cousin, but it's confirmation.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Something, yeah.
I'm feeling a mixture of relief, disbelief, a lot of simmering anger, but in reflecting on this past 14 years, I'm pretty strong. And I get that from, in hindsight, I get that from her.
We also looked into whether or not Sakina was involved or knew. We did all that too, and I think that we can pretty much tell you she's absolutely not involved. She wouldn't really talk. You tried to talk to her hard.
Twice. She wouldn't talk to me.
We figured that. I guess it's a loyalty to your brother, but still, that was your aunt who raised you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You still have a hard road ahead of you, but it's been wonderful meeting y'all, and your mom's friends were wonderful.
And thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
It's nice to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Quite welcome.
It's bittersweet to bring this news to Tanisha and Gloria because someone that they love killed someone else that they loved.
I love you.
But hopefully, knowing that justice is finally being served, maybe this will also bring them a little peace.
Let's keep hope alive.
That's you know I am. What's up? We sent out here, got 2 copies, got 2 warrants to read to you, okay? On the 12th of December 2007, the defendant Dwayne Cassidy Taylor committed the offense of murder with malice aforethought against the victim, Deborah Chisholm.
On September 17, 2021, Dwayne